Thank you for joining this next installment of Black and Bold Perspectives on Leadership. I'm really excited to have this conversation with Bonita Robertson, coming from New Orleans, the Greater New Orleans Foundation. It has been a while since I've seen you, Bo.
I know, it's good to see you, Makiyah.
Ditto. I'm so excited to just dive into this conversation because I know from our time with Emerging Philanthropists of New Orleans that you have a lot of dimensions and a lot of elements that make up your exciting life in the work that you're doing. And so I guess I wanted to start with a context question, given that 2020 is a year unlike any other with this global pandemic and protests from coast to coast. Has there been a moment of reckoning for you over the last, say, 4 to 5 months that you wanted to lift up?
Yeah, so I think there's been so much that's happening, right? So we're living in a pandemic, and then for our context in New Orleans, we actually are in hurricane season right now as we're filming this. And so this idea of the fact that you can be in multiple disasters at the same time, while also knowing with the COVID pandemic, also we have the slow moving disaster of, racial injustice that's happened throughout the history of this country. And then layering on top of that, the fact that we could actually have a storm coming. We had, about a month ago, we had a scare, which is like you could have all of these things happening at the same time. And so that was really a moment of reflection and whoa, this is very intense, right? And so I think one of the things that has really brought some peace to me during this time is, the work that we're consistently doing at the foundation. And that has been kind of my North Star to keep me moving through this time. And, that is very strategic work, really trying to support our nonprofits during this time with grant making, with also technical assistance. And so that's really been how I've been able to move through it. And then getting as much information as I can, informing people as much as we can. So that's really been the way that I've kept my head on straight during all of the things that are happening right now.
Yeah, it takes a different skill set, I think, to juggle and navigate so many layers of trauma, of needing to survive, of anxiety. There's so much that's happening in this current moment with all of those elements colliding. I hadn't even thought of hurricane season.
It's crazy. We actually hosted a webinar. The foundation has been hosting a series of webinars since COVID happened, I guess since March 13th. And we had a webinar about 2 weeks ago on mental health. And Dr. Jean Shervington really said it so eloquently. She was like, if you have a threat to your very existence, then your response is going to be heightened. And that was this moment of, yes, we are all feeling all of this, particularly as Black people at this moment. And layering on top of that, the pandemic, layering on top of that, the anxiety that comes with hurricane season every year, as you know, having lived in New Orleans and around the Gulf Coast. And so it was this moment of really reflection and for me to stop and say, yeah, this is normal for us to all feel this way. And we have to take the time to really reconcile that.
Wow. So you've touched a little bit on the foundation. Can you elaborate on your work at the Greater New Orleans Foundation and maybe share what GNOF is actually focused on as far as the community foundation for New Orleans?
So as you said, we're the community foundation for Southeast Louisiana. So we serve about 13 parishes in our region with our main offices in New Orleans. We have a Center for Philanthropy. So we built a building a few years ago where we can host convenings and host people to come and really explore philanthropy and really act as a convening space for our community, which is wonderful. The work that I do at the foundation is really around, I'm the Director of Civic Leadership. And so what that really is about is supporting and catalyzing progressive initiatives of the foundation. One of those initiatives right now is our work around the Spirit of Charity Innovation District. So people from New Orleans and the region will know Charity Hospital was our safety net hospital prior to Hurricane Katrina. That hospital has been shuttered since Hurricane Katrina, and now the hospital is going to be revitalized into a mixed use development. But one of the things that we focus on at the foundation is how can we make sure that that development is really equitable in the areas surrounding the development. More important is equitable. So people have access to transit, access to affordable housing, access to good jobs. And so how do we create this really innovative district around this multi-million-dollar project that is going to come online in the next few years. And so that's the work that I've really been focused on since I took on this role, which is a new role for the foundation, along with trying to, really lift up any innovative research that is happening within the foundation as well, particularly within our programmatic department. So that's a little bit about the role that I have.
Wow. And I know that prior to joining the staff at Ganoff, you had other experiences
Yes.
in the working world. I'm curious if you had to think about a soundtrack of greatest hits as it relates to the work you've done, different experiences on your resume and not on your resume, because I know we met through Emerging Philanthropist of New Orleans, which was not a full-time job. But
it wasn't.
I mean, it's been, as a sidebar, it's been great to see the newsletters and see how much ethno has flourished since I was a part of my class. But I'm curious, if there was a soundtrack of greatest hits related to your life experiences and career, what kind of tracks would you have?
So this is a really hard question because it's narrowing down all of these songs that I feel like have been impactful in my life. Right now, what I would say is one of the things that I keep thinking about in my work, because prior to my work at Ganoff, I worked for an organization called the Bio District. And they had a similar mission to some of the stuff that we're trying to do with the Spirit of Charity Innovation District. So I feel like I'm in a kind of deja vu state right now. A lot of the work that I started out right out of law school working on, I'm doing again. So that's very interesting, and deja vu keeps playing in my head. The other thing that I think, other song that is important and reflects, I think, a lot of where I am is Lean on Me. So that's a song that I just always harken back to when things are really challenging. And so that's a song that I've used. I really have been blessed to have people in my life, in my circle, that act as mentors throughout all major phases of my life, whether it was in undergrad or grad school, and now professionally. And so I really think on that song as a way that I act as the person that's leaning on others and they lean on me. And then the song that I really want to be the soundtrack for my life, I guess I would say, or my career, is I Was Here. So that's a Beyonce song, but I really, that song really, I want my work to reflect and people to understand that it has made a change and a difference in others' lives. And so the work that I did prior to my role as the Director of Civic Leadership was really around the workforce investments. And so knowing that those investments had clear benefits to people, that's really impactful and important. And I know the work that we're doing around the Spirit of Charity Innovation District will have the same.
Sounds like, based on those song titles, as well as where you've had your thumbprints and fingerprints on different pieces of work within the greater New Orleans community, that your values really undergird how you engage with the work, how you navigate in the community, et cetera. I'm wondering if you can share an example of when your value set may have been in tension and how you reconciled that tension and or reclaimed your time, depending on what the circumstance was related to that.
So one of the things that I do right now is I am a board member of the Ernest M. Morel Convention Center. And I have been on the board for a few years now, and really that is an awesome responsibility that I do not take lightly at all. And I feel very privileged to be able to serve on the board. One of the things that I have really tried to push as a board member and as the chair of the Small and Emerging Business Committee, which is really around building our small businesses and making sure that small businesses are included in our procurement opportunities, is really pushing for small and diverse businesses to be a part of the work that we do. And so that has been something that I have really been pushed on by my values. One of my uncles had a small business, so I grew up in a small business and I understand how important they are to our communities. And that has been not always the easiest of jobs. And this is a volunteer position, but really making sure that I was very clear on the expectations of what I thought that we should be doing to include small businesses, to make sure that that was aligned with the general values of the board that I served on as well. And, you know, I'm really proud to say that we've made tremendous progress. Now, that is a time where I had to reclaim my time multiple times. And really, I am one of the youngest people on the board. For a while, I was the only Black woman on the board at the time. And so there are a lot of dynamics that come into play during those moments. And so really being comfortable with myself and my own leadership, that was a huge growth experience for me. And you know, I think we're at a moment right now where everyone understands on the board and is fully supportive of these efforts to really ensure that small businesses are included in every way, shape, and form in our procurement opportunities. Now, it has been a road that we've traveled, but you know, I got a note yesterday from our staff person that works on this, and she said, you know, for Q1 of 2020, we were at over 26% of our contracts went to small and emerging businesses. In 2016, we were at about 9%. So we're seeing this growth that has happened, which is really, that was a lot of things. It was a confluence of a lot of different people, not just me, pushing to make sure that there was actual change that happened. And so that was a moment where I really stuck to the values of what I believed in. I had to reclaim my time as a board member and as the chair of that committee and make sure that this was an imperative for everyone across the board. And I've had many allies in that fight. And so I've been very grateful for the work that we've been able to do.
That's an impressive jump from 9% to 26%.
Yes, it required a lot of change. It required a lot of changes. So what happened was we actually have a staff person that is on board fully supporting this work now, which is the first time that we've had this since I've been a board member. And so that really, when you hire someone to actually move this forward, it makes a huge difference because that is that person's intention and that is their job. And so that has been a lot of progress. We've also gotten the support of our board to make this happen. And so when you have all these different levers and allies, both internally and externally, it really makes a difference. So yeah, we've had a big jump. And so it's great news.
Awesome. So you mentioned being the youngest board member for a time and
Yes.
the only Black woman on that board for a time.
Yes.
And something about developing your confidence and finding your voice. I may be paraphrasing what you said, but I'm just imagining you in your power pose of, you know, being in the room where it happens to make things happen. And I'm curious if you could, in reflecting on that experience, offer any advice to other Black women who are trying to develop or amplify their voice and become better self-advocates.
So, Makiyah, I think one of the things that I benefited from through, I work in philanthropy, obviously. I was a part of the Association for Black Foundation Executives, their leadership program 2 years ago. And one of the things that I benefited from that was having an executive coach. And she really was really wonderful in helping me identify some of the challenges that I have around in my own self around resilience and really my communication style. And so that was really helpful for me when thinking about how you communicate with people that, you know, we're not the same, obviously, but if we have a similar mission, how do we all get to that same mission and really understand how to talk to folks in a different way? So that was one of the things that was really helpful for me. The other thing that I will say is for anyone looking to develop their own leadership, especially for Black women, I think it is important, and I know you share this, to have your own group of people that you can talk to. And that is, you know, your girlfriends, your partner, whoever it may be, your mentor around this is happening. I am trying to navigate this, how best to do this. And I really have been blessed to have that. I have my girlfriends that I can talk to about anything, and we're all similar ages. We're in different sectors, but how we're navigating this. And so that's really important. I also have a mentor that I can really call on and say, I'm trying to do this. And she's the Black woman. How can I do this? And that's been really helpful. And she's outside of philanthropy. And then I really am very blessed to have a colleague inside of philanthropy that is also a Black woman, that has helped me navigate so much within philanthropy that I'm very grateful for. And so I think it really is about having your kitchen cabinet, so to speak, of people that you can talk to. But also, I think it is important. I know a lot of people can really struggle with imposter syndrome, and you're not good enough, we're not smart enough, you don't deserve to be here, type of thing. And it has taken me a while to realize, no, I'm just as smart, I deserve to be here, I've worked to be here, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here. Nothing is given, right? And so really understanding that and claiming that and owning that when you go into these conversations is really important.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is such a pernicious little devil. And
it is.
Listening to you, I'm thinking, oh, I need her executive coach.
I can give you her name for sure.
Yeah. No, I've been coaching. All of the things that you mentioned have been themes in other conversations for Black and Bold. So coaching support, mentors, the kitchen cabinet, or finding your tribe. Yep. I think the circle of support is just critical, because there's so many times when it feels like we might be on an island unto ourselves and just struggling, instead of being able to, leverage and stand on the shoulders of others who have been navigating the same waters.
Absolutely.
Wow. So thinking about, I guess, the body of work that you're focused on, I realize that I keep going to your work, but I realize you have multitudes of life within you. So you're not just work at the Greater New Orleans Foundation.
Yes.
But in managing your work and your personal commitments, what is your approach to self-care? And happy wedding, since you are a relatively newlywed.
Yes.
And I'm curious if your self-care routine has changed since you became married. So a two-part question.
Yes. So one of the things one of my colleagues at the Greater New Orleans Foundation, this was years ago, put on all of our desks was that it's a quote from
Audre Lorde.
Yes. It was this quote around self-care is not an act of self-indulgence, but is an act of political warfare. And so that is actually, it's not on my computer right now because we're all working remotely, but it is typically right on my computer because I have to remember that every day, right? So one of the things, as you noted, I just got married in March. So it is a different set of self-care that I am undertaking right now. We're also in the height of a pandemic. Work has been, a little stressful, a little crazy. So one of the things that I started doing right at the outset of this was reading a book every night. And so reading a couple pages every night helps to really calm me. And it really helps to get me in a good place to go to sleep, which is great. Also, I take walks with my husband now. We do about 3 miles a day after work, before dinner. And it's really that time where we're in the same place working, but we are both on Zoom calls or both doing all these other things. And so we see each other during the day, and we're in the same space, but we are not connecting as much during the day. And so the walks provide us an opportunity to download on all the things that happen during the day, what's upcoming, and also not just about work, whatever else that we want to talk about. And so that's been different than what I was doing prior to the pandemic. I was not doing 3 miles a day of a walk. So that's been really good. And that is something that we do together. The other part that I try to practice is, I had been really good about meditation. I think trying to reincorporate that at some point during your day is important. I had typically started it in the morning. And so that's something that I am trying to do better, get back into that zone of meditating as well. And then just working out. So I know that I sleep better, I feel better if I'm doing some kind of physical activity. And so whether that's the walk or yoga, which is really important for me to work on my breathing, I try to do those things as well. So it's not always equal, right? We do try to do the walk every day. That's something that we do every day, unless it's raining. But all the other things, you're trying to balance your time as well.
Yeah, I think it's such a gift to have the ritual of the daily walks with your husband, just because it is a very different world with the number of Zoom calls where we're just engaging with people through technology instead of being able to share space and like the same time. Like it's a big adjustment. And so having that daily moment for 3 miles, that's a little bit of a walk.
We're walking around the neighborhood, so it's a nice, it ends up being like a little over an hour. But it really is, it's a great time. And to just not be in front of screens. I mean, now we're all in front of screens all day. And to, you learn also so much about your neighborhood, things that you never noticed while driving in a car that you noticed while walking. And so that's one of the best things that I've incorporated. And one of the things that even after we're back to our new normal, whatever that may be, that we both said we want to make sure that we're doing a daily walk. So.
Awesome. So that's a great segue to my final question for you, which is, with the craziness of this current moment, where are you finding joy?
So I am finding my joy these days through being able to have the walks with my partner. I am also finding joy in being outside. And it is a different way. I think everything has slowed down, so there's not as many cars all around, and you really get to enjoy nature and hear the birds and experience things in different ways. So I'm finding joy in that. I'm also finding joy in, these bold acts of resistance that are happening all across our country. And that is a way to really empower all of us to really move this work forward in really meaningful ways. And so that is really impressive, and it provides fuel for us all or for me to continue to do this work. And so that is just a little bit about where I'm finding some joy, and also doing some Zoom calls with my friends to stay connected. That is really important, since we all can't see each other right now. We can still see each other virtually. And so staying connected with folks as well.
Yeah, that makes me think that I've done maybe 2 virtual dance parties by Zoom, which they're just different, because as much as I love dancing, it makes me miss being like at a house party or in a club.
Yes.
As I dance in my office by myself. Like it's different, but there's still a sense of connection. And so
absolutely,
that's great that you're prioritizing the virtual meetups with your friends.
Yeah, so that's been great.
Awesome. Well, Bonita, it has been so lovely to reconnect with you. And I thank you for making the time to share your insights and wisdom with the Black and Bold community.
Absolutely, Makiyah. Thank you for the opportunity. It's so good to see you. I can't wait to see you again in some place between New Orleans and New Hampshire.
Yes.
Sometime soon, but it's great to see you.
Great. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.